You know, I'm gonna be honest. I like most things surrounding the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. I like the first and fourth game in particular. That free-to-play pizza simulator game was pretty cool, and of course, it's always been interesting seeing a community being so intertwined with a developing storyline. It's always been interesting that with every new FNAF game, there was always more to it than just the game. The story got a little convoluted for my tastes by the time the Sister Location game came out, so I stopped following around then, and I just played the next releases without bothering to delve into the lore of them, per se. So that's my frame of reference for my knowledge on the overarching storyline. And when I saw the trailer for this game, the concept looked promising. I wasn't impressed with the design of the animatronics, but I figured they'd probably do something creative with their designs and make them look more eroded during the actual game, and they did. But the overarching premise seemed to be that this would be a free-roaming FNAF game, which is a concept that people have been curious about ever since the release of the first game, myself included. This idea kind of exists in the Joy of Creation games, which I'm very fond of, so I was curious to see how a bigger studio would handle this kind of game. I also really liked the VR game that Steel Wool made, so I figured this game might be worth checking out. So I got it on release, and I discovered, in its current state, it's terrible. It's like a playable mass of hot garbage. I don't think it fails as a part of the FNAF franchise, but it absolutely fails as a game. This is due to a plethora of game-breaking bugs, bad level design, useless mechanics, non-existent accessibility options, and lots of backtracking. However, I'm not the kind of person that just enjoys trashing on games, so I am going to talk about the stuff that I liked about the game first. The setting worked well for this game. I still think it had some minor issues, but I think that they achieved what they set out to create with the Pizzaplex. It sort of reminded me of Hello Neighbor, how that game had like an over-exaggerated version of a house, and this game has an over-exaggerated version of what a pizza mall would look like. There was clearly a lot of effort and care put into the theming of the environments, and there's plenty to see and explore. I like how they brought back gameplay elements from the previous games for short segments that act as tense moments and effective callbacks. The game also becomes more unsettling the further you get along, and is at its best towards the end. I also enjoyed the fully animated cutscenes. They had a surprising amount of quality, and I wouldn't have minded to see more of them. I was also a fan of most, if not all of the character designs that ironically don't include the leading cast. Like, these wet floor signs are really cute. I like the design of the employee robots, and the Sun-Moon animatronic was probably the most creative design-wise. I enjoyed his presence. I also enjoyed the Weeping Angels endoskeletons that follow you around for a bit. That section was interesting, and probably the only part in the game where you have to hide. I also really liked the part in the underground, the sort of boss fight with the Chica animatronic. The environment was really eerie, and I got absolutely tricked when I looked behind me expecting still to be pursued by Chica, only to discover the main antagonist. It was a good moment. The arcade minigames were a nice change of pace and well put together, with some good music too. El Chips? I liked El Chips. And well, that's kind of everything I liked about this game. So, here I go. This is why I think it's bad. I have to address the bugs. I try to separate bugs and glitches from the actual game when I consider it in retrospect. For example, the texture glitches all over the place aren't an issue for me for a game on release. I can handle a bug resulting in my death or two. However, I draw the line at game-breaking bugs. This game has tons of them. I experienced 3 crashes and 3 soft locks while playing it, not to mention a plethora of unnecessary deaths caused by a lot of smaller bugs. The crashes seemed to be random, but I can name each of the soft locks. The first was when you get the laser tag gun. You're meant to go through the whole laser tag section, then unlock a golden one at the end, which you then keep for the rest of the game. However, there's this deposit box right next to where you pick up the gun. You can put the gun in there right after picking it up and then exit the area, then when you return it respawns. However, the game isn't prepared for you to exit twice in a row. Out of curiosity, I exited the second time holding the gun and it let me. The UI from the laser tag minigame stayed stuck on my screen, and it assumed I completed the minigame even though I hadn't. My progress was then halted, objectives wouldn't complete until I restarted from my last save. The second was when I put down the bait for the Ichika animatronic to get crushed by the compactor. Every time I hit the button, it would prompt me that I had to find some way to lure her into the trap. I assumed that meant that the mix I found wasn't enough to lure her there, despite what the collectible notes said. So I spent over an hour trying to figure out another way before I found a Let's Play video online that showed the guy doing the exact same thing I did, and it worked for him. I went back to the game and saw that it still didn't work. When I reloaded the game, the mix disappeared as if I never placed it before. Then when I placed it again, then it worked. It's like the game didn't even know I put it there the first time. In a scenario like this, how was I supposed to know it was a bug? It led to a lot of wasted time. The third was during the fight with the Roxy animatronic after stealing her eyes. She lunged at me and fell into the floor, disappearing from the level entirely. While I initially thought this was funny, I became a whole lot more sour when I realized that I now didn't have a way to die to restart the sequence. Another restart was required. As I mentioned, a lot of deaths were caused by bugs too. All animatronics, including the employees, would constantly teleport to and around me, completely destroying any modicum of tension that previously existed. There was also a point where I couldn't enter the Freddy animatronic until I completed the next story beat. You know, the one thing that guarantees your safety. And when I would enter via the recharge section, I'd be stuck there until death because the prompt to enter and exit no longer existed. I just don't understand how a fair amount of this couldn't be caught with just a few playtests, because I experienced all of this in just one playthrough. But hey, maybe I'm being too harsh because of the bugs. Maybe in a couple months when they're all ironed out, it'll be a better game, right? Well, it'll definitely be way less frustrating to play, but I still think the gameplay is flawed overall. It's just not for me. There's no tight-knit, reliable mechanics like there are in all of the other FNAF games. Everything here is shallow and it isn't capitalized on. For example, there's a mechanic early on where you can use sound to lure an animatronic away from a location. I never used it again after its introduction because it's just way more effective and time efficient to just run away when they start chasing you. You'll get closer to your objective and they lose track of you really easily, so what's the point of being stealthy and wasting more time? Hiding in lockers and bins proved to be a guaranteed way to get them to stop chasing you, even though the game points out that if they watch you hide, they'll catch you. That never happened to me a single time. I don't know what the animation looks like when they find you in a hiding spot because that mechanic was just completely non-functional in my playthrough. Also, getting the laser gun? While cool, and it shook things up a bit, it still completely nullified any need to be stealthy. If an animatronic spots you, just use the laser gun. And you can put so much distance in between you and the animatronics while they're stunned. There's some circumstances where this doesn't work, like with the gator, but then refer back to the previous step, simply running away or hiding in a container directly in front of their eyesight. Using the Freddy suit as a reliable method of safety was probably the most unique and interesting mechanic, as his battery drains fast, so you can't just sit in it forever. That did lead to some tense moments knowing that you had to exit sometime soon. But god, did they just throw these security bots everywhere. Their placements made sense in the early game, but as you progress, their placements begin to look laughable. They're in every corridor, every walkway, every corner, just to have the animatronics teleport directly to you to start a chase sequence. What's weird about this is that they already have the animatronics teleporting all over the place. So why have these quote-unquote safer zones with the security bots when they'll just teleport to you if you get caught? Because it will happen because of how many bots there are. Though the bots' vision is a small range, they overwhelm you with numbers and constantly glitch towards you and trigger a chase sequence, often when they shouldn't. It becomes more annoying every time it happens. You just can't comfortably explore without one of these just jumping in your face every 5 seconds. Why not just have the main animatronics patrolling every area? They already have the ability to teleport wherever they want. You'll find yourself constantly escaping an area where an animatronic was patrolling, only to enter the next area where the same animatronic is again. So screw it, if positional logic is out the window, just get rid of these security bots and make the main animatronics way more threatening. Like seriously, look at this. Why are these four so close together? I don't think they're meant to be, but this was happening all over the place. Why not utilize the Moon animatronic more? They had the resources and characters, but they just relied on these security bots way too much. It made the uncanny setting seem a little more goofy and unbelievable. The reason I'm ranting on the positioning of everything is because the main gameplay involves exploring the complex and backtracking. So much backtracking. The map provided to you has 0 locations labeled on it, and the mall map on every floor is just a pixelated, unintelligible mess. It's fairly easy to get lost in this game. And that's not just me being stupid. Of course, I probably was stupid a couple times, but the game is very vague on where it wants you to go next in general. Go watch any Let's Player try and progress through this game, you'll see what I mean. There's also these short segments where you upgrade the Freddy animatronic with small wire minigames, a la Sister Location, but these tooltips pop up during every step instructing you to, and I shit you not, click your left mouse button to progress. I played on the PC version, but I imagine this is mostly to inform and warn console players of what button to press, and so they don't press it too early? But here it's just insulting. Literally for every step it tells you to click in a specific location right in front of you, the most basic function in a game humanly possible. It's like assuming you're a toddler. Now, I'm pretty sure they do this because if you click before the instructions are delivered to you, it results in death. But it could have just been made that it's impossible to click on anything until the instructions are finished being delivered verbally to you. But I'm hammering on this point too much. The jump scares aren't good. This probably seems like the most subjective opinion, and to a degree it is, but think about it like this for a second. Jump scares in other FNAF games work better because one moment you're inspecting something closely, and looking somewhere else probably, and the next moment a jump scare appears unexpectedly. In this game you can, 80% of the time, anticipate when you're going to be jump scared. Not to mention, the loop works with you getting jump scared to start a chase sequence that if you fail will result in you getting another jump scare. They should have added some sort of animation when you get caught to the jump scare. Think Alien Isolation, or, I don't know, The Joy of Creation, another FNAF game. Jump scares just don't have the same effect at all when it's a fully animated subject. I know it's like a staple of the franchise, but this game is quite a bit different from its predecessors, and an aspect like this should be adapted in a better way to fit the new form. And there's just way too many of them. Why is there still a robotic scream when the one human catches you? I know she's like under the influence of one of the animatronics, but like even then, like how would this noise be produced? Even if you're an actual child, you can't possibly tell me that the security bot jump scares evoke even a fraction of surprise or fear. The amount of jump scares in this game are just so obscenely abused, it's insane. I didn't get the true ending. For one, because of everything I just mentioned, but I would be willing to push through for the sake of seeing everything there was to see to judge it accordingly. But the game doesn't respect your time, not in the slightest. When you reach 6 AM, you're given the option to get a couple of endings at that very moment, or you can continue playing to try and get the true ending. But for a reason I can't comprehend, saves become disabled if you decide to stay. This means every bug, every glitch, every annoying bot placement, every undeserved death would be harshly punished. I believe this is the game's attempt to kind of parallel the difficulty of 100%ing the previous FNAF games, like with the 20-20-20 mode, but applied to this game. But it just doesn't translate well here. On the hardest modes in the previous FNAF games, you can just start right over, 5 minutes or less gone. In this instance, you can lose from 10 minutes to hours worth of time because the save function is disabled. If the game doesn't respect my time, why should I try and complete it? I speculate that this game was almost designed to be spectated and not to be played, which isn't something I can get behind. Also, the game is over 80 gigabytes. I understand games are becoming larger as time goes on, but that size still seems really big for the kind of game this is. I also wouldn't say in its current state this game is worth $40 at all. 30 max if all of its underlying problems become ironed out, but in its current state it's probably worth 20 at most if you're a hardcore fan of the series. So yeah, if you're already really into the series, I'd say this is a good entry story-wise. I didn't dig too deep into the lore here, the storyline of the series doesn't just grip me anymore, and the gameplay here didn't give me any good reasons to catch up on anything. But it's clear there was a lot of fan service in this game as well, a lot of callbacks, and a lot of Easter eggs. I don't dislike the empire that is the FNAF franchise. Its beginnings hold fond memories for me, but this game has successfully ended all my future interest in it. This is probably the first negative review on my channel. It's unfortunate it had to be for this game, but I think it's important to have a contrast for what I think is quality and what I think isn't. I'm giving this game a 2 out of 5. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.